Chapter 14 Quo Vadis. For a number of days after the interview, Chilo did not show himself anywhere. Vinicius, since he had learned from Acte that Ligia loved him, was 100 times more eager to find her, and began himself to search. He was unwilling and also unable to ask aid of Caesar, who was in great fear because of the illness of the infant Augusta. Sacrifices in the temples did not help, neither did prayers and offerings, nor the art of physicians, nor all the means of enchantment to which they turned finally. In a week the child died. Mourning fell upon the court and Rome. Caesar, who at the birth of the infant was wild with delight, was wild now from despair, and, confining himself in his apartment, refused food for 2 days. And though the place was swarming with senators and Augustinians, who hastened with marks of sorrow and sympathy, he denied audience to everyone. The Senate assembled in an extraordinary session at which the dead child was pronounced divine. It was decided to rear to her a temple and appoint a special priest to her service. New sacrifices were offered in the temples in honor of the deceased. The statues of her were cast from precious metals, and her funeral was one immense solemnity, during which the people wondered at the unrestrained marks of grief which Caesar exhibited. They wept with him, stretched out their hands for gift, and above all amused themselves with the unparalleled spectacle. The death alarmed Petronius. All knew in Rome that Poppaea ascribed it to enchantment. The physicians who were thus enabled to explain the vanity of their efforts supported her. The priests whose sacrifices proved powerless did the same, as well as the sorcerers who were trembling for their lives, and also the people. Petronius was glad now that Ligia had fled, for he wished no evil to Aulus and Pomponia, and he wished good to himself and Vinicius. Therefore, when the cypresses set out before the Palatine as a sign of mourning was removed, he went to the reception appointed for the senators and Augustinians to learn how far Nero had lent ear to reports of spell and neutralized results which might come from this belief. Knowing Nero, he thought, too, that though he did not believe in charms, he would fain believe, so as to magnify his own suffering, and take vengeance on someone, finally, to escape the suspicion that the gods had begun to punish him for crimes. Petronius did not think that Caesar could love really and deeply even his own child. Though he loved her passionately, he felt certain, however, that he would exaggerate his suffering. He was not mistaken. Nero listened, with stony face and fixed eyes, to the consolation offered by knights and senators. It was evident that, even if he suffered, he was thinking of this. What impression will his suffering make upon others? He was posing as a Niobe, and giving an exhibition of parental sorrow, as an actor will give it on the stage. He had not the power even to endure his silent and is it were petrified sorrow. For a moment he made a gesture as if to cast the dust of the earth to his head, and a moment he groaned deeply, but seeing Petronius he sprang out and cried in a tragic voice so that all present could hear me, Eo, O thou art guilty of her death. At thy advice the evil spirit entered these walls, the evil spirit which with one look drew her life from her breast. Woe is me! Would that my eyes had not seen the light of Helios. Woe is me! Ew. Ew. And raising his voice still more, he praised into the despairing shout. But Petronius resolved at that moment to put everything on one cast of the dice. Hence, stretching out his hand, he seized the silk kerchief which Nero wore around his neck always, and placing it in the mouth of the emperor, said solemnly, Lord, Rome and the world are benumbed with pain, but do thou preserve thy voice for us. Those present were amazed. Nero himself was amazed for a moment. Petronius alone was unmoved. He knew too well what he was doing. He remembered besides that Thermnos and Diodorus had a direct order to close Caesar's mouth whenever he raised his voice too much and exposed it to danger. O Caesar, continued he, with the same seriousness and sorrow, We have suffered an immeasurable loss. Let even his treasure, let even this treasure of consolation remain to us. Nero's face quivered, and after a while tears came from his eyes. All at once he rested his hands on Petronius' shoulders, and dropping his head on his breast, began to repeat, amid sobs, "Thou alone of all thought of this, thou alone, Petronius, thou alone." Tigelius grew yellow from envy, but Petronius continued, "Go to Antium. There she came to the world, their joy flowed in on thee, their solace will come to thee. Let the sea air freshen thy divine throat, let thy breast breathe the salt dampness. We, thy devoted ones, will follow thee everywhere, and when we assuage thy pain with friendship, thou wilt comfort us with song." "True," answered Nero sadly, "I will write a hymn on her honor, and compose music for it, and then thou wilt find the warm sun in Baiae, and afterward forgetfulness in Greece, in the birthplace of poetry and song." And this stony, gloomy state of mind passed away gradually, as clouds pass that are covering the sun, and then a conversation began which, though full of sadness, yet was full of plans for the future, touching a journey, artistic exhibitions, and even the receptions required at the promised coming of Tiridates, king of Armenia. Tigellinus tried, it is true, to bring forward again the enchantment, but Petronius, sure now of victory, took upon the challenge directly. "Tigellinus," said he, "dost thou think that enchantments can injure the gods?" "Caesar himself hath mentioned them," answered the courtier. "Pain was speaking, not Caesar, but thou. What is thy opinion of the matter?" "The gods are too mighty to be subject to charms." "Then wouldst thou deny divinity to Caesar and his family?" "Per actum est," murmured Epirus Marcellus, standing near, repeating that shout which the people gave always when a gladiator in the arena received such a blow that needed no other. Tigellinus gnawed his own anger. Between him and Petronius there had long existed a rivalry touching Nero. Tigellinus had his superiority that Nero acted with less ceremony, or rather with one whether in his presence, while thus far Petronius overcame Tigellinus at every encounter with wit and intellect. So it happened now. Tigellinus was silent and simply recorded in his memory those senators and knights who, when Petronius withdrew to the depth of the chamber, surrounded him straightway, supposing that after this incident he would surely be Caesar's first favorite. Petronius, on leaving the palace, betook himself to Vinicius and described his encounter with Caesar and Tigellinus. "Not only have I turned away danger," said he, "from Aulus Plautius, Pomponia, and us, but even from Lygia, whom they will not seek even for this reason, that I have persuaded Bronzebeard, the monkey, to go to Antium, and thence to Naples or Baiae, and he will go, and know that he has no venture yet to appear in the theatre publicly. Have known this long time that he intends to do so at Naples. He is dreaming moreover of Greece, where he wants to sing in all the more prominent cities, and then make a triumphant entry into Rome, with all the crowns which he, Graeculi, will bestow on him. During the time we shall be able to seek Lygia unhindered and secretly her in safety. But has not our noble philosopher been here yet?" "Thy noble philosopher is a cheat. No, he has now shown himself, and he will not show himself again. But I have a better understanding, if not of his honesty, of his wit. He has drawn blood once from thy purse, and will come even for this, to draw it a second time. Let him beware lest I draw his own blood. Draw it not. Have patience till thou art convinced surely of his deceit. Do not give him more money, but promise a liberal reward if he brings thee certain information. Wilt thou thyself undertake something? My two freedmen, Nymphidus and Demas, are searching for her with 60 men. Freedom is promised to the slave who finds her. Besides, I have sent out special persons by all roads leading from Rome to inquire at every inn for the legion and the maiden. I of I course through the city myself day and night, counting on a chance of meeting. Whenever thou hast tidings, let me know, for I must go to Antium. I will do so. And if thou wake up some morning and say, this is not worth while to torment myself for one girl, and take so much trouble because of her, come to Antium. There will be no lack of women there, or amusement. Vinicius began to walk with quick steps. Petronius looked for some time at him and said at last, tell me sincerely, not as a madhead, who talks something into his brain and excites himself, but as a man of judgment who is answering a friend. Art thou concerned as much as ever about this Lygia? Vinicius stopped a moment and looked at Petronius as if he had not seen him before. Then he began to walk again. It was evident that he was restraining an outburst. Alas, from a feeling of helplessness, sorrow, anger, and invisible yearning, two tears gathered in his eyes, which spoke with greater power to Petronius than most eloquent of words. Then, meditating for a moment, he said, it is not Atlas who carries the world on his shoulders, but woman, and sometimes she plays with it as with a ball. True, said Vinicius. And they began to take farewell of each other. But at that moment a slave announced that Chilo was waiting in the antechamber, and began to be admitted to the presence of the Lord. Vinicius gave command to admit him immediately, and Petronius said, Ah, have I not told thee? By Hercules, keep thy calmness, or he will command thee, not thou him. A greeting and honor to the noble tribune of the army, and to thee, Lord, said Chilo, entering. May your happiness be equal to your fame, and may your fame course through the wall from the pillars of Hercules to the boundaries of Arsacide. A greeting, O lawgiver and virtue and wisdom, answered Petronius. But Vinicius inquired with affected calmness, what dost thou bring? The first time I came I brought thee hope, O Lord. At present I bring certainty that the maiden will be found. That means that thou hast not found her yet? Yes, Lord. But I have found what that signs which she made. I know who the people who are rescued her. I know the God among whose worshipper to seek her. Vinicius wished to spring from the chair in which he was sitting, but Petronius placed his hand on his shoulder and turning to Chilo said, Speak on. Art thou perfectly certain, Lord, that she drew a fish on the sand? Yes, burst out Vinicius. Then she is a Christian, and Christian carried her away. A moment of silence followed. Listen, Chilo, said Petronius. My relative has predestined to thee a considerable sum of money for finding the girl, but a no less considerable number of roads if you deceive him. In the first case thou wilt purchase not one, but 3 scribes, in the second the philosophy of all 7 sages, with the addition of thy own will not suffice to get the ointment. The maiden is a Christian, Lord, cried the Greek. Stop, Chilo, thou art not a dull man. We know that Junia and Calvia Crispina accuse Pomponia Graecina of confessing the Christian superstition, but we know too that a domestic court acquitted her. Wilt thou raise this again? Wilt thou persuade us that Pomponia, and with her Lygia, could belong to the enemies of human race, to the poisoners of wells and fountains, to the worshippers of an ass head, to people who murder infants and give themselves up to the fullest license? Think, Chilo, if that thesis which thou art announcest to us will not rebound as an antithesis on thy own back. Chilo spread out his arms in a sign that was not his fault, and then said, Lord, utter in Greek the following sentence, Jesus Christ, Son of God, Savior. Jesus Christus Theo Soter. Well, I have uttered it. What comes of that? Now take the first letter of each of those words and put them into one word. Fish, said Petronius with astonishment. It was the Greek word for fish. There, that is why fish has become the watchword for the Christians, answered Chilo proudly. A moment of silence followed, and there was something so striking in the conclusions of the Greek that the two friends could not guard themselves from amazement. Vinicius, art thou not mistaken? Asked Petronius. Did Lygia really draw a fish for thee? By all the infernal gods, one might go mad, cried the young man with excitement. If she had drawn the bird for me, I should have said a fucking bird. There is a Christian, repeated Chilo. This signifies that said Petronius, that Pompeia and Lygia poison wells, murder children caught on the street, and give themselves up to dissoluteness. Folly, though Vinicius were at their house for a time, I was there a little while, but I know Pomponia and Aulus enough, I know even Lygia enough, to say monstrous and foolish. If a fish is the symbol of the Christians, which is a difficult really to deny, and if those women are Christians, then by Proserpina, evidently Christians are not what we hold them to be. Thou speakest like Socrates, Lord, answered Chilo. Who has ever examined a Christian? Who has learned their religion? When I was traveling 3 years ago from Naples hither to Rome, oh, why did I not stay in Naples? A man joined me, whose name was Glaucus, of whom people say that he was a Christian. But in spite of that, I convinced myself that he was a good and virtuous man. What is not from that virtuous man that thou hast learned now what the fish means? Unfortunately, Lord, on the way at an inn, someone thrust a knife into that honorable old man, and his wife and child were carried away by slave dealers. I lost in their defense these two fingers. Since, as people say, there is no lack among Christians of miracles, I hope that the fingers will grow on my hand again. How is that? Hast thou become a Christian? Since yesterday, Lord, since yesterday. The fish made me a Christian. But see what a power there is in it. For some days I shall be most zealous of the zealous, so that they may admit me to their secrets. And when they admit me to their secrets, I shall know where the maiden is hiding. Perhaps then my Christianity will pay me better than my philosophy. I have made a vow also to Mercury, that if he helps me to find the maiden, I will sacrifice to him heifers of the same size and color, and will wild their horns. Then thy Christianity of yesterday and thy philosophy of long standing permit thee to believe in Mercury? I believe always in that in which I need to believe. That is why philosophy which ought to please Mercury. Unfortunately, ye know, worthy lords, what suspicion God he is. He does not trust the promises even of blameless philosophers, and prefers the heifers in advance. Meanwhile, this outlay is immense. Not everyone is a Seneca, and I cannot afford the sacrifice. Should the noble Vinicius, however, wish to give me something on account of that sum which we promised, not an obolus, Chilo said Petronius, not an obolus. The bounty of Vinicius will surpass thy expectations, but only when Lygia is found, that is, when thou shalt indicate us her hiding place. Mercury must trust thee for the two heifers, though I am not astonished at him for not wishing to do so. In this I recognize his acuteness. Listen to me, worthy lords. The discovery which I made is great, for though I have not found the maiden yet, I have found the way in which I must seek her. Ye have sent freedmen and slaves throughout the city into the country. Has anyone given you a clue? No, I alone have given you one. I tell you more. Among your slaves there might be Christians, of whom ye know knowledge, for this superstition has spread everywhere, and they, instead of aiding, will betray you. It is unfortunate that they see me here. Though, do thou, therefore, noble Petronius, enjoy silence on Eunice, and thou too, noble Venetius, spread a report that I sell thee an ointment which ensures victory to the circus. 2 horses rub with it. I alone will search for her, and single-handedly I will find the fugitives. And do ye trust me, and know that whatever I receive in advance will be for me simply an encouragement, for I shall hope always for more, and shall feel the greater certainty that the promised reward will not fail me. Ah, it is true, a philosopher I despise money, though neither Seneca nor even Musonius or Cornutus despises it, though they have not lost fingers in any one's defense, and are able themselves to write and leave their names to posterity. But aside from the slave whom I intend to buy, and besides Mercury to whom I have promised the heifers, and ye know how dear cattle have become in these times, the searching itself involves much outlay. Only listen to me patiently. Well, for the past few days my feet are wounded from continual walking. I've gone to wine shops to talk with people, to bakeries, to butcher shops, to dealers in olive oil, to fishermen. I have run through every street and alley. I have been in the hiding places of the fugitive slave. I have lost money, nearly 100 asses, in playing mora. I have been in laundries, in drying sheds, in cheap kitchens. I have seen mule drivers and carvers. I have seen people who cure bladder complaints and pull teeth. I have talked with dealers in dried figs. I have been at cemeteries. Do you yet know why? This is why. So as to outline a fish everywhere, look people in the eyes and hear what they will say of that sign. For a long time I was unable to learn anything, till at last I saw an old slave at a fountain. He was drawing water with a bucket and weeping. Approaching him, I asked the cause of his tears. When he had sat down on the steps of the mountain, he answered that all his life he had been collecting sestertium after sestertium to redeem his beloved son, but his master, a certain Panza, when the money was delivered to him, took it, but kept the son in slavery. And so I am weeping, said the old man, for though I repeat, let the will of God be done, I, poor sinner, am not able to keep down my tears. Then, as I penetrated by my forewarning, I most sure my finger in the water and drew a fish for him. To this he answered, my hope too is in Christ. I asked him then, hast thou confessed to me that by that sign? I have, said he, and peace be with thee. I began then to draw him out, and the honest man told me everything. His master, that Panza, he is himself a freedman from a great Panza, and he brings stones by the Tiber to Rome, where the slaves are where slaves and hired persons unload them from the boats and carry them to the buildings in the night time, so as not to obstruct movement in the streets during daylight. Among these people many Christians work, and also his son. As the work is beyond his son's strength, he wished to redeem him, but Panza preferred to keep both the money and the slave. While telling me this, he began again to weep, and I mingled my tears with his. Tears came to me easily because of my kind heart and the pain in my feet, which I got from walking excessively. I began also to lament that as I had come from Naples only a few days since, I knew no one of the brotherhood and did not know where they assembled for prayer. He wondered that Christians in Naples had not given me letters to their brethren in Rome, but I explained to him that the letters were stolen from me on the road. Then he told me to come to the river at night, and he will acquaint me with the brethren, who will conduct me to houses of prayer, and elders to govern the Christian community. When I heard this, I was so delighted I gave him the sum needed to redeem his son, in hope that the Lord Vinicius will return to me twofold. Chilo, interrupted Petronius, in thy narrative falsehoods appear on the surface of truth, as oil does on water. Thou hast brought important information, I don't deny that. I assert even that a great step is made forward finding Lygia. But do not cover thy news with falsehood. What is the name of that old man from whom thou hast learned that the Christians recognize each other through the sign of the fish? Eurystheus, a poor unfortunate old man. He reminded me of Glaucus, whom I defended from the murders, and he touched me mainly by this. I believe that thou didst discover him, and will be able to make use of the acquaintance, but thou hast given him no money, thou hast not given him an ace. Thus understand me, thou hast not given anything. But I helped him to lift the bucket, and spoke of his son with the greatest sympathy. Yes, yes, Lord, what I can had before the penetration of Petronius. Well, I did not give him money, or rather I gave it to him, but only in spirit. In intention, which had been a real philosopher, should have sufficed him. I gave it to him because I saw such an act was indispensable and useful. For think, Lord, how this act has won all Christians at once to me, what access to them it has opened, and what confidence it has roused in them. True, said Petronius, and it was thy duty to do it. For this reason I have come to get the means to do it. Petronius turned to Vinicius. Give command to count out to him 5,000 sesternia, but in spirit, and in station. I will give thee a young man, said Vinicius. We will take the sum necessary. Thou wilt say to Eurystheus that the youth is thy slave, and thou wilt count out the old man, and the youth presents this money. Since thou hast brought important tidings, thou wilt receive the same amount for thyself. Come for the youth and the money this evening. Thou art a real Caesar, said Chilo. Permit me, Lord, to dedicate my work to thee, but permit also that this evening I come only for the money, since Eurystheus told me that all the boats are being unloaded, and the new ones will come from Ostia only after some days. Peace be with you. Those do Christians take farewell of one another. I will buy myself a slave woman, that is, I wanted to say a slave man. Fish are caught with a bait, and Christians with fish. Pax vobiscum, pax, pax, pax.